Check, 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 check.
Hello, everyone. Hello, greetings, and welcome. We've got Paulsego here, friend of the show, and I've got something I'm going to read for you guys real quick. On today's highly unique episode of Vibe Check, we've got an exciting guest to share with you all and expose to you miserable wretches with whom I so often argue. His name is Paulsego. He began his career on YouTube back in 2007 during the heat of the rising great debate community of that era and became an internet sensation upon joining the Drunken Peasants 10 years ago. Since then, DP is split. Paul has a new show with TJ and Scotty, and Paul has been making the rounds on occasional YouTube argument, debate, and bloodsport streams. And we've been pissing each other off lately. And tonight we'll have the chance to test our mettle in direct confrontation. Whose ideas shall win? Will it be a ragged debate full of insults and vitriol, or a chill conversation that you'd love to listen in on? Only watching will inform you. Welcome, Paul.
Welcome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me and all of that fun stuff.
Of course.
I take no exception to that intro. That was a pretty goddamn good intro. I'll give you that much.
Thank you.
It was a fine intro. I thought I was going to take exception to it, but you did well.
Thank you. I wrote it on absolutely no sleep at 9:30 this morning.
Nice.
I know, right?
You just been in hyperdrive mode, huh?
I have been. I think I don't know if I don't like self-diagnosis, but it does sound like what people describe a manic episode as feeling like. Because I just haven't been able to sleep much and I haven't been able to eat much, but I have been like running myself ragged with stuff for the channel and stuff around the farm and shit like that. Yeah,
understood.
The I guess I'll let me answer this super chat real quick from Ignar. I shall be the first to donate, folks. Only the greatest. Send super chats to Phoebe. The greatest. Believe me, everyone tells me that, folks. Thank you, Ignar, for the $5. I appreciate that a ton.
Oh, very nice. That's
Very
not a
nice
bad
indeed.
fucking Trump that you got there.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate the compliment. So what originated this between me and Paul was that I made a spicy hot take the other day, which is that we should appropriate church properties. I think over a certain square footage, like there's certain church properties that I think are so inconspicuous and innocuous and take up so little land as to not really be a nuisance, even in a secular society that hopefully we're all trying to build. But then there are church properties like many of those littering Europe from the bones of the Catholic Church, giant mega churches all throughout America that, in my opinion, would be much better suited to performance venues, museums, art spaces than they would be allowed to continue being an edifice to the basically to the worship of the clergy and a giant monument to the excesses of religiously informed capitalism.
Okay. Let me get anecdotal with you.
Well, that'd be an anecdote.
So my family is largely religious, and my sister and brother-in-law pretty much run a church in my hometown. It's a big church. Definitely about the size you would probably say needs to be appropriated, right? And that church, now I know that this is not indicative of every church, but that church 110% feeds its community. Like, they are out there feeding the homeless. If we were to appropriate that and turn it into a museum, the community would be poorer for it because they feed the homeless. They do clothing drives, they do housing, they build housing. So they're sending out positive things into the community and into the broader world already. And I don't know that I trust a government-run organization to do that better than they're doing it.
Well, I'm not necessarily. Number one thing I want to clarify is I don't necessarily know that I want it to be government institutions doing it necessarily. I think in some instances, because I don't think it should be something that's implemented at the federal level. I just think it's a tendency that a secular society will adopt given enough time. And I want to be on the front edge of this take, which is very unpopular now. I've been testing it out with my chat. Very unpopular now, but I think is going to become the dominant opinion of what should be done with mega churches and old ecclesiastical properties in about 100 years, when America is like 20% religious and 80% secular, and most of Europe is like 95% secular and 5% religious. I think it's going to become sort of absurd at a certain point because there will be so many other mechanisms by which the people are supported, by which their community is maintained. It'll be kind of absurd at a certain point to have these massive buildings and the property that is attached to them that will more and more be representative of a smaller and smaller group of faithful and a more and more exploitative arrangement. So I wouldn't, necessarily go to your brother-in-law's church right now and be like, let's seize this and assume that that's going to make the world better. But in 100 years, I don't know that that church is going to have the same number of parishioners. And I don't know if the community serving that it's doing right now will necessarily be the case in a society where we've resolved most of the reasons by which the clergy are allowed to take the role of charity.
Sure. There's a lot of ifs and wins in that. And
we're both futurists, though. Oh, where'd he go? He dropped. Where'd you go? Paul dropped. I didn't kick motherfucker, did I? There he is. There's my boy.
Yeah, closing windows, getting things out of the way so I could full screen us, and I closed the window we were in. Old pro
It happens. It
Uh,
happens. I was
yeah,
just saying, we're
in
both futurists,
religion
so
on the
yeah.
uptick, though. Religion on the uptick, Phoebes.
Oh, come on. This is like
Religion
the
on
stock
the uptick,
market.
Phoebes. Religion
Yeah,
coming
sure
back,
it is.
Phoebes.
You know what? SpaceX was on the uptick until it crashed out yesterday.
You don't think religion futures look good, but religion on the uptick, Phoebes. They're gonna be building more churches here pretty soon, Phoebes.
I disagree heavily. Religion is making itself a little louder in its dying throes as it desperately seeks for more parishioners, as it desperately seeks for some kind of foothold in an ever-changing world that is like structurally and technologically less compatible with these Bronze Age bullshit myths. Like, religion is becoming less of a tenable thing, and more people are starting to say, well, I'm a Christian, but if you really drill down into their beliefs, these motherfuckers aren't Christian, not in any sense you would. They're like deists, basically, and a deist is a half
That's
step
all
from
it
an
takes, though,
atheist.
Phoebes. That's all it takes is that
What do you mean?
little that they need. If those when those people have a hard time in their life, and instead of falling back on those inner reserves like non-religious people do, they are looking for a way to fall back on somebody else's reserves. They're going to seek out that church, and if there's a vacuum for demand, somebody's going to come along and fill it. Now, if I believed that we were 10, 15 years away from religion being a non-issue in this country or reaching levels of Europe, some European countries and stuff, I'd be way less poo-pooing about it. But as it stands right now, I think it's a little even too futurist for me, because I don't know that I believe that religion will ever weave its way out of the human story at this point. I think that the virus is too ingrained in our brains.
So it's interesting you say that, because in God is Not Great, Christopher Hitchens brings up this very same idea and kind of agrees with you, and also uses Sigmund Freud's assessment of the human religious tendency to kind of make that argument. Sigmund Freud's quote went something to the effect of, religion will never be extirpated from humanity until we get over our fear of death, basically.
Sure.
And I kind of agree with that idea, and I kind of disagree with it. I think that organized religion is mostly a product of unfair hierarchies and generational mind viruses that can be cured pretty easily by education, less class striation, social programs. Like, there are secular programs and ideas that can that can do that. But when it comes to like people's spirituality and the underlying systems of faith that these organized religions are built upon, I think that that might be something we can't get over. But I also don't think that that is something that requires a massive ecclesiastical structure in the middle of town for people to have a way to organize around that. The Amish, for example, hold church in each other's houses. Every Sunday it switches up.
Yeah, they also have like 3 pairs of underwear and, get up at 3 a.m. to raise a barn. I'm not poo-pooing their life or whatever.
I'm not saying, I'm not saying the Amish are like.
Yeah, and they do raise churches too, don't they?
For other communities, like, they will build a church for a community that wants a church built, but the Amish themselves don't believe in, well, I guess maybe it depends on the Amish community, but by and large, the Amish don't typically believe in the idea of, I mean, they basically kind of agree with me on how I see these big church buildings. I think that even a religious person should have a problem with an overly large church and just an overly grandiose building, because it is the tithes of the faithful that went to pay for that. And that is not what tithes are supposed to go to pay for. It is only through continued ecumenical rewriting, basically, that the various churches of the world have been able to normalize in people's head the idea that you can only go to church if you are going to church in a massive building with huge arched ceilings and speakers that cost $20,000 a piece. That is
Yeah.
a modern convention. And it's one that mostly started with the Catholic Church. For thousands of years before that, religious practice was practiced in people's homes, in communal
Sure.
gathering places that lasted generations and had utility other than their spiritual practice.
Sure. And I mean, I think we agree on the ideal. I just don't know that we agree on the feasibility. I think that's where the gulf is.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is kind of what I was curious about. Would you consider yourself an anti-theist, or like merely just, kind of an atheist, like let people do what they want, whatever?
Definitely not an anti-theist at this point in my life. I just atheist.
At this point in your life, did that change? Is that new?
Yeah.
I mean, if it is, that's fine.
Oh, yeah. I would have
wanna know.
definitely 10, 15, maybe years ago, I would have answered that question different for sure. I'd have said I'm an anti-theist.
Okay.
I'm not sure what facilitated the change other than just age. I think as I get old, I see the utility that people get from religion, and I myself practice a little bit of Taoism here and there in my own way. I contemplate the Tao and do a little meditation. It's nowhere near like actual adherence to like a Taoist religious regimen or whatever. But a little whimsy in my life and a little bit of esotericism never hurt nothing. And I can see the utility of that in other people, and I can see how it could grow beyond that. To be honest with you, watching my family and the way that they operate within those religious confines has kind of changed my mind on it a little bit. They embody that thing. I can't do it because I know what I believe and I don't believe, and I'd just be a big fat hypocrite sitting in there doing it. But they make it look enviable. It's a community that's very tight knit. They take care of each other. The bottom doesn't fall out from underneath anybody in their church. And I can see, in a world that's more striated and there's more and more economic striation going on, I feel like people need those community hubs, and the government's not providing them, and private industry isn't providing them. And so right now religion is providing them. So what mechanism, I guess the question would be, by what mechanism would these, like, who would be the overseeing entity appropriating these properties and turning them into cultural centers? And
I think it would depend on the it just depend on the instance, because like I said, I'm not looking for, this is something I think will become a cultural tendency and something that will be done eventually, and is already being done. That's one of the things I wanted to bring up. There's already old Catholic churches all throughout Western Europe that have been sold off by the Catholic Church during times when they wanted to fundraise, or because they didn't want to maintain a certain church building anymore, that were adopted or purchased by secular organizations for the purposes of displaying art or having performances or stuff like that. So to some degree, this is already happening in places that are more actively resisting the influence of hardcore fundamentalist religion.
Sure.
But I think what it would just depend on the instance. For example, there's a number of churches here throughout the U.S. that have been deconsecrated, I think is the word, and sold off after a congregation dies, because very often, a congregation is based around this like core group of people, and then when that core group of people dies off, sometimes there's just nobody left to run the church, and there's nobody left to even attend it because that core group is just gone. And some of those have already been sold off. Some of them have been turned into performance venues. Recording studios is a super popular use for a church because
capitalist.
So capitalists, I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be in the framework of capitalism, though. You could do that with like a labor union could, in theory, use their collective like what would you call it, not the strike fund, but like the fact that they've got a fund that is meant to be reinvested into the capitalist infrastructure around them.
You're talking about the administrative fund and all of that,
or to buy a church that's already built and use it for a union hall, for example. So it's not like it necessarily has to be somebody that's strictly money minded. It can be a community organization, like a secular rights organization or a Secular Students of America club or something. There's a number of different ways you could do this. It could happen at a municipal, state, or federal government level. But honestly, I would think that it would probably, and it will probably start happening with like local orgs and people that want to like buy up these buildings to use them for whatever private use. But I honestly think it'll be community orgs more than anything, because churches just kind of like call out to be used by the public.
Yeah, I don't know that I believe that right now that there would be this like kind of groundswell. Like, let's say that like that church was replaced with some community organization, right? My sister's church. Let's say it was replaced with a community organization. I don't believe I don't believe at this point that community organization would get enough people to staff it with volunteers and stuff to make the dent that the church, with its already existent foundation, it already is making a huge impact on that community. And I just, like, once again, when you start talking about special interest groups and you start talking about capitalistic enterprise replacing some of these things, I don't think that there is a replacement unless you go all the way to the federal government. The federal government is appropriating these buildings and filling them with federally funded community outreach organizations and stuff. Then maybe we have a different talk, but that's a huge leap in a direction that we're not headed, right?
Okay. I feel like there's an implication here that this argument is predicated upon, and I just kind of crystallized in my head. So I'm going to ask you about it and see if I'm on the right track. It seems to me like you seem to have this idea that religious institutions are somehow like intrinsically more likely to be effective purveyors of charity and generosity and community support than secular organizations would be. And I don't know, like, I'm just not sure what the basis of that would be, other than the fact that religion has been so much more dominant for so many years. But that's been because of the most hateful excesses of religion that me and you would both criticize.
Well, there are in the using the anecdotal example that I've been using as a framework, right? It's a very small town. There are no secular organizations in town other than maybe like the,
well, sure, I'm asking broadly
the Elks
than that,
Lodge
though.
or whatever, right? Broadly,
yeah,
sure,
even the
but you know
that purely secular.
Yeah, you're right. So for me, you know, you really got to look at the least among us, not to use a religious saying, but like, I think if there was a mass appropriation of these things, I think the places that have the worst economic status are going to be hit the hardest by the absence of these churches, because where there are secular organizations in larger cities and smaller communities, you know this, you live in one, there are churches.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. No, I live in, I live in somewhere in the rural fucking deep south in Mississippi, but yeah, there's tons of churches
and it's probably quicker for you to get to a church than it would be for you to get to like a secular organization from where you're at.
Oh yeah, no, most certainly. So one thing, you have a supporter in the chat saying the Catholic Church is the most charitable organization on earth, which I don't think is true, because a lot of what the Catholic Church calls charity is like missionary work and like imposing Catholic morality on remote populations and shit. So it's not like that, it's not like their charity spending represents a million wells being built throughout Africa or something. Just look up Christopher Hitchens and his many diatribes on Mother Teresa if you want to know more about how the Catholic Church actually feels about poor communities and what they look at as support. I hate to ask, but can I take 1 second and use the bathroom?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
I'll fight with your chat.
You want to. Yeah, no, I'd love it.
Where is that idiot? There was a guy, and maybe he got banned out. I don't know. Focus on your own health and wellness before getting all big brained about more complex issues. So in your mind, Should I wake up in the morning and think about like health, wellness, health, wellness, health, wellness, health, wellness, health, wellness? Like, you can think about other things, bud. I'm not trying to pick through your brain and telling you what to think about. Why would you do the same? Yo, Paul. I'm Paul as well. Cool. Who the hell am I? Who the fuck are you? You saw the Feeding Our Future Fund of Minnesota, millions of dollars funneled and not for children. Oh, yeah. No, that's why I'm not going to step in and like carry the water for the Catholic Church or anything like that. You're going to catch me doing that. That's a big fat no from me. Charitable organization or not, you know, when you're systematically abusing children and then covering it up, it's time to make room for another charity. Nobody that's starving is being helped by being preached to, Joey Fangas. Yeah, we ain't getting a Star Trek future. We're getting a Mad Max future. But nowhere near as cool. It'll be more like The Road. Watch that movie or read the book by Cormac McCarthy. You want to look at our future? There's your future. Especially if you're like, you know, young now in your 20s or some shit, and you're thinking like, I might have kids. Good book. Harrowing book, man. Holy shit. Oh, a nihilist. How quaint. Well, I'm an optimistic nihilist. When's the big dog going to return to stream? Probably had to take a huge alcohol-induced shit. Big jonkulus. I don't think it's alcohol-induced. Although I might go grab some alcohol. I might have myself a couple of ciders and let that sink in over the course of the show. That might be nice. Yeah, see? Phoebe's back. You read my nihilist comment exactly how it sounded in my head. I know. Because I've heard it so many fucking times, dude. I get it.
Drink with me, Paulsego.
What was that?
It was an alcohol-induced shit.
Oh,
drink with me, Paulsego.
I tried to cover for you, but there you go. Admit
No,
it.
these motherfucking trolls know me too well.
Okay. All right. Well, then fuck it. I'm going to go grab some booze. I'll be right back.
All right. I'll entertain the chat for a minute. All righty. Yeah. By the way, guys, please send in your super chats if you want to get a question or comment answered or read. I can't read every single chat that goes through in the regular chat section, but I will try and get to every single super chat before I have Paul leave tonight. So definitely send in some super chats if you're interested in supporting this channel. It is only through your continued support that I'm able to do this sort of content full time and to continue providing you guys more and different kinds of it as time goes on. So yeah, now that he's gone, let's shit talk him. No, Paul's too cool. Paul's awesome. We disagree on some things, but that's okay. You're supposed to disagree with cool people. You shouldn't have like friends or acquaintances or like people that you are regularly hanging out with or whatever that are like total sycophants, you know? That's one of the reasons why I think that me and Paul kind of vibe is because we disagree on shit, you know? I feel like we don't disagree on our axioms, but on how we want to see those things implemented, definitely.
Well, sure, and we're different types of futurists as well.
Yeah, about that. How are you feeling about AI these days?
I still think that the amount of benefit that it has provided, and especially in certain fucking job descriptions, is immeasurable. It's just not very visible. Things like coding and billing and using it in lieu of a legal aid. I mean, a lot of these things that it has provided, research, absolutely. I mean, I know that you have to double check it because it will do crazy things sometimes, but the amount of shit that it can do now, and that's not even getting into the generative side of it, you know, the music, the video, the voice. Yeah, I think it's still overall something that we should pursue as a species, because I think it's the one piece of technology that has the possibility to be the magic box that fixes everything.
No, that's very close to magic machine rhetoric, though.
That's what I'm
I wouldn't
saying.
go quite that far.
That's what I'm saying. Magic machine rhetoric out of Paul in 2026.
In 2026, the year of our Lord 2026, Paulsego is now making magic machine arguments. Okay, no, but seriously, I kind of look at it, and this is a position that's incredibly unpopular with my chat, with my mods, with everybody on the left, pretty much. I think that AI is not going away. And I think that just like steam-powered mills revolutionized the milling of grain and metals and the creation of products in factories and took jobs away from a lot of millwrights who previously used to work on water-driven mills, just like steam power took away a lot of people's jobs, if you think about it, because it completely revolutionized the way people worked and the way that they did things. I kind of look at it as like a further progression of that. And just like those mills remained means of production that I think the workers needed to take over after they became steam powered, I think that technology is like that new means of production. It's one of the reasons why I say that Marxism is not exactly like, you can't just, I don't think like a modern person that is actually concerned with the achievement of leftist action in America can fairly call themselves a Marxist-Leninist, because it just doesn't address one of the new means of production, which is AI, this technology. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, I tend to be a little bit more rosy on AI than most people are. I think AI is going to be what finally gets us a UBI. Because
you really think so?
Yeah. I think that we're on the cusp of it replacing a whole lot more jobs than we've seen it replace now. I mean, a lot of these places are just behind the curve on this shit. Like, a lot of places could fire like 80% of their staff and they don't know it yet because their, you know, CEOs and board are a bunch of boomers, you know. But
well, you know what happens
as these larger companies and these medium-sized companies start to figure out the benefits that can be provided by just incorporating AI into the back end of their shit, it's gonna decimate the job market.
See, I agree with that. I just unfortunately think that they're going to just let us die off until enough people get angry enough to do what I've been talking about for the last few years and finally take to the streets in a mass way, demanding a UBI, among other things, and massive housing reform so that people, like, here's how I think housing should work. I know this is a little bit of a tangent, but I kind of want to hear how you feel about this. I think that housing should work like this. You are entitled to inherit like your family's house unless like your family moves out of that, right? And then it goes up on some general like wait list and anybody can move in there. And I think that it should all be like administered by some federal level system that coordinates maintenance and new builds and stuff like that, maintains a wait list, and allows people to stay in their homes lifelong And then if there's one of their kids that wants to take it over, then that kid gets like the right of first refusal, basically, to continue taking over.
If you
that
want
free
that,
99-year lease.
you give up. We're gonna have to get way more utilitarian with the houses and shit. Like it's gonna because nobody's ever going to let go of these fucking big million-acre ranches, and people are not gonna want to live in the smaller apartments. So, you know what I mean? There's still going to have to be some sort of homogenization of the type of fucking housing that's made.
See, what do you think about the idea of, like, yeah, I agree with you kind of, but what do you think about the idea of those mansions eventually? Just like I think we should reappropriate the churches. Here's what I think we should do with those mansions. What if those mansions become like, because there's still going to be, like, in my perfect society, the utopian world I dream of, there are still people that are traveling around and seeing beautiful things all over America. What if those mansions became like little hotels or something? And yes, it's going to require the elimination of the class of people that wants to own that mansion. But I mean,
yeah,
I mean, anyway.
It's definitely something that we could talk about. I mean, ultimately, in a perfect future, I don't even think it should be something that you have to be waitlisted on. I think that every place should have surplus housing that's maintained just for the possibility of somebody needing to use it. And I think you should be able to move anywhere in the planet at a moment's notice.
No, yeah, I agree. I just think that there would be wait lists for like the really primo places, because there would have to be. Because there's going to be all kinds of people that want to move to the coast. There's also going to be tons of people that are fine living in the country, and coordinating that might be kind of hard at times. And so I think you would have to have some kind of bureaucratic system to do that. But yeah, I think that, to get back to the main point, I just don't think that they are going to implement a UBI without like a mass movement from massive amounts of Americans that take to the streets and don't leave until their needs are met. I think they're just going to let people die off.
I don't think people are. I just don't think we're there yet. And I think the last few quote unquote protest movements have shown that people are willing to pay attention to something for a day. They're willing to have no king's day. What needed to happen was no king's year. And if people are already struggling to hold on to what they have, and I don't see people in this day and age being willing to walk away from that. Nor do I see them having the economic basis that the hippies had. The hippies had, by and large, wealthy parents, and that subsidized a lot of their hippiness.
That's a very important thing to bring up, and not enough people who talk about the hippie movement bring that up, is the fact that a lot of the hippie movement was built on a lot of different things, but a lot of it really was built on the expansion of the middle class. Suddenly, millions of Americans had access to education that never had access to education before. Rural families in the South that could never afford to send their kids to college in the 1930s and 40s suddenly were able to send their kids to college in the 1950s and 60s. And that led to, like, that in combination with the general rise of the economic condition of the middle class led to that, like, movement being as big as it was able to be. And so it's kind of one of those movements that kind of defies the typical expectations we have of material conditions that would create a mass movement. And I kind of agree with you, but it's kind of a dark thing to realize, right? To realize that in order for things to get bad enough for people to demand the changes that are going to happen to keep this civilization functional, it's going to take, I mean, you've always used the aphorism breadlines.
Yeah.
Kind of a horrifying thought, though.
Yeah, and I think that this paradigm of power has gotten so good at channeling and funneling that kind of class-based anger inward rather than outward, that there's very little chance that there's going to be some national movement before the bottom falls out of this. And so I think they've got a plan, Phoebes. I think that a UBI is going to be cheap for them.
It's cheap for them, but it's still money they have to give to the plebs that they could just not give us until, like, because in their
mind, but think about it. You give it to the pleb, and what you've basically done is you've paid somebody to not be a liability for you. Because right now, if you could replace a whole factory filled with human workers with robotic workers, you'd be incentivized in every way to do so. Why? Because people break their hips, they break their backs, they fall down and get mangled at work. And guess who's on the hook for that? The employer, right? It's the employer that has to pay out the insurance claim. It's the employer that has to pay out the the workman's compensation claim. Like that. So they look at it like front loading that. So now I don't have to worry about hiring one of these people. I don't have to worry about the instability that comes with hiring a human being. Robots don't get pregnant. They don't get sick. They don't go on benders. They don't have cocaine habits that they're hiding from everybody. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's the way that rich people are looking at the idea of a UBI now. That's the way they're looking at it. It's like let's pay up front, and it saves us money in the long run because we're not now on the line and on the hook for all of these people's failing bodies and minds as we work them into the ground. Now we can just keep them below the poverty level, but only just, head just above water.
Here's what I don't get. If that is the logical solution that even an unempathetic sociopath like Perseus, the rich Thai heiress that hangs out in my chat, would agree is necessary, she's even agreed with this in the past. If this is so obvious and true to so many members of the bourgeoisie, then why? Like, for what reason? Because Andrew Yang was making a lot of these arguments adjacent to them 10 years ago. Well, maybe 6 years ago.
He was just ahead of the curve. They're not going to start doing it until they can start doing it. You know what I mean? They're not going to start doing it until it becomes, the cost benefit becomes, it is more beneficial for us to fire every human that works for us and replace it with an AI driven construct. They're not there yet. They're starting to get there. A lot of these industries are starting to just blow up, where 10 or 15 jobs are condensed into one, right? Because this guy's got AI agents now working on his shit.
Yeah. I mean, you know what happened to me at Taco Bell, right?
No.
So when I first got my job at Taco Bell, I was hired as a hostess, which, like if you've ever been in a sit-down restaurant, some fast food restaurants, especially in the Deep South, have for the last 20 years still maintained some form of hostess. It's the idea that you got somebody that seats you, or at the very least attends to the lobby and make sure that there's a welcoming environment and stuff, right? Like the main customer service person.
Right.
That's what I was hired as. Well, actually, originally I was hired as like a dishwasher, but they let me on lobby one day and they loved how I was up there, and people responded really positive to me. So that's the job I ended up doing, was hostess. And for the first year and a half, I would say that I did that job. That's what my job was: clean the lobby, be a positive customer service experience for people. Work the line down. There were 2 kiosks, but then about a year and a half into my job, it started to become, I was no longer allowed to take customer orders. Period. I wasn't allowed to take them. And instead, I had to help them out on the kiosk. And my entire job for the 3 hours I would be there on my reduced hours would just be to clean the lobby, make sure the bathrooms are clean. And last time I went in and Taco Bell, they don't even have that person working anymore. They just have somebody from the drive-thru come over if they have to take cash. If some customer needs to cash out. So literally what we're talking about here is happening. There are AI denialists all over the left and all over, frankly, all kinds of different political spectrums that are, for some reason, refusing to admit that this technology is here and that it's already altering people's lives. But my job, literally the job I worked before doing this for a living, went away because of AI and assistive devices.
Yeah, it's happening. My dad is coming to visit me here in a couple of days, and he is bringing with him one of the Teslas that has got full auto drive. I got to play with it a little bit when I was down in California for that wedding recently.
Yeah.
And what it made me realize is that we are a gnat's ass away from commercial driving being completely automated. We're talking about UPS drivers and people that, you know, drive semis and all of this shit. Is we're on the cusp. We're a gnat's ass away from replacing that, and that is a huge chunk of the market, labor wise. So yeah, I think that we're not that far from it becoming a pretty fucking routine talking point to hear both sides of the aisle talking about UBI. Somebody gave a super chat and said that Elon Musk has already kind of started to say that,
Yeah.
you know, if we don't have a plan to replace these jobs with something else, then AI is going to necessitate a UBI. I'm not saying that Elon Musk is some wise source to listen to, but it is interesting to hear somebody with that much money and that much privilege and that closeness to the government even say UBI, let alone in a positive way. So
right, he's got like a tremendous amount of influence, and the fact that he is actively coming out about it, and it's not just him either. Like Barack Obama has talked about UBI positively in the last 3 or 4 years. Obviously, Andrew Yang 6 years ago was making it a primary part of his campaign. There are obviously people in the billionaire class talking about this. I would never seek to disagree with that, because that's just patently obvious if you follow the news. But what I wonder is because if you look at some of the people that are involved in, if you look at the real movers and shakers in the billionaire class right now, they are some really despicable, reprehensible people, like Peter Thiel, Elon Musk. Elon Musk is basically a Nazi. Peter Thiel, is a weird techno-fascist that has insane visions of power in the world. Even Bill Gates is not completely fucking innocent on this shit. So the idea that the billionaire class would be altruistic enough.
Wasn't Bill Gates on the list?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. He's on the list.
So
he's on the Epstein.
Right. Well, it's there's a reason why Kyle Kulinski calls it the Epstein class, and this is something I've talked about before. I mentioned earlier I don't consider myself a Marxist because I don't think Marx and Lenin were able to go far enough because they didn't have enough predictive ability. But one of the things I think that they got incredibly correct is their historical dialectic model of looking through history and examining what happens kind of predicts this outcome in late stage capitalism. The systems that make capitalism possible and that reinforce it create conditions that enable the richest people to get away with the most heinous crimes and to get away with crimes in general. Most of the time when people think about this, they think of relatively minor shit. They're not really thinking about the big stuff. They're thinking oh, this person gets away with smoking crack in their Ferrari. That's the example that I've heard you use that example before. But it's also that they get away with fucking kids on an island in the Atlantic.
Driving drunk, beating on their girlfriends and wives. I mean, all of these things have a different tier of justice for these super rich people, right? So yeah, that has to be addressed for sure. But these people also can do cost benefit analysis, and there's they can't run the country with a huge underclass literally starving.
Why not, though?
As ostracized as United States is now, I mean, if it gets to that point where just everybody in the United States is starving, and unless they're the 30% that have these jobs that remain, there's going to be no way that that'll be sustainable.
So you're saying that at that point, what I'm predicting would happen, that a mass movement would occur, that heads might even roll, that at the very least there would be a mass sit-in movement because people would have nothing left to lose, right?
Maybe so, which is what they're trying to avoid, right?
Right, but the fact that you say maybe means that even you recognize that there's a possibility that people would just kind of sit and accept.
Yeah, it's going to take breadlines. It's going to take starving in the streets. It's going to take wallowing in the filth. And I think by the time that it gets to that point, it might be too late, you know?
That's what I'm horrified of. That's why I constantly advocate, like, that's why I try to do this contact theory thing, and I advocate for people talking to their neighbors and growing their own gardens and joining community support organizations and unions and stuff like that, because I think that we are rapidly approaching a time when the US government and state governments are no longer going to have effective answers. And when private interest has never had good answers. They've always had answers that benefit the expansion of profit. So I think that, like, we're rapidly approaching a time where that's going to become not just necessary, but like life or death. Like, there are going to be people who, in the next 50 fucking years, there will be people who live because they had a garden and were part of a union and were part of community support organizations, and people who die because they were not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to agree with you. Unless there is, I think they want to keep this level of exploitation. Because think about this.
Yeah.
Let's say they do a UBI.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, well, they're not incentivized to do that because they're just giving away money. And that's money that they could pocket. They're pocketing it anyway. What do you think that people are going to do with that UBI money? They're going to take it to Walmart. They're going to use it on their rent. They're going to use it on their big utilities. They're going to buy a car with it. They're going to, they're going to use all these goods and all these services that are all owned by these fucking billionaires anyway through shell corporations. So it's just like, it's a win-win proposition, because every dollar of that, Americans are so strapped. Every dollar of that stays domestic or within their international fucking multinational corporate boundaries. Every dollar, every dime of it comes right back to mama. So it's like, why wouldn't they do this? I'm actually kind of shocked that we're not hearing much about it now, but I think Trump is to blame for that. Not that he's stymieing it. It's just that there's so much shit going on with him that politicians haven't really had a chance to make this a vocal and forward part of their rhetoric. But I think we're going to, my call is within, 2-3 years, certainly by the next, presidential electoral cycle, I think we're going to be hearing UBI as a talking point. Neurotica said she's taking after me and feeding some squirrels, and feed your local squirrel. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up and mention that, because I just thought it was cool that Bree is taken after. That's Bree, by the way.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, you remember Bree.
I do.
She is awesome. She's come on the channel a few times. She is so cool. And dude, you know what? I'm gonna get back to the topic, I promise. But let me just say this, because the chat has been relatively generous tonight, and people have been really popping in, and we've maintained a good viewer count throughout the fucking whole hour we've been here. So I just want to say, this is the coolest fucking job I've ever worked in my fucking life, Paul. And I cannot tell you how thankful I am for you fucking old neckbeard weirdo, you being my mentor. You didn't mean to be. You probably didn't even want to be. But I've watched you, studied you, motherfucker, for like 20 years. And I've absorbed the lessons, and something must be working out, because 131 people at 58 minutes speaks for itself.
There's nothing.
So thank you.
There's nothing to it but to do it.
Exactly, dog. Exactly. I love to fucking hear it. With that being said, anybody else that wants to help support the channel, I appreciate you guys so much. You guys are the ones who enable me to do this full time for a living. My little fucking Taco Bell ass, food service and retail ass, working fucking dog shit jobs my whole life. You guys are the reason. So if you want to support that shit, donate. And if you don't have the money, then I understand, because shit's fucking wild right now, and hardly anybody has the money for the fucking socks on their feet, let alone supporting some fat ass.
Fuck that. Sell your socks. Sell your socks and give them to Phoebe right now.
Yeah.
Don't save
Exactly.
anything for yourself. Empty your coffers.
Okay, so I have been drinking. I've been getting drunk, so I need to pee again. But it'll take a lot less time this time. I'm gonna
pee.
go. Thank you.
Yep.
Right back.
I got you. You are making it weird. Oh, Phoebes was making it weird. Phoebes has studied the Tao of Paul, the Paul Ching. Yeah, the Paul Di Jing, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, I always told Phoebes, because she would talk about this a lot. You know what I mean? Phoebes would say, hey, I want to do this and I want to do these streams. And I usually won't encourage somebody if I don't think they got the sauce. And, I could see Phoebes had the sauce. So I'm glad to hear that she's doing well. Because that's awesome. You love to see that. You love to hear it. Because she's right, dude. It is really, and I forget it sometimes because I've been doing the job for so fucking long now. But it's cool to see a fresh-faced new person remind me that this really is one of the coolest fucking jobs on the planet. I mean, it really is. It's absurdly cool, and I should treat it more as such, maybe. She's joining LolCal Live. Is that so? I'll have to pick her brain about that. I did say one thing, that there's one person in the YouTube sphere that I will never work with, and it is Killer Keemstar himself. I have seen that dude chop down more forests than I care to fucking remember.
Who?
Keemstar.
Oh. Yeah.
The Killer Keem.
Keem. Thank you for the 10,000 gems air travel. Nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. Phoebe studied the Tao of Paul, the Pao Di Ching. Yeah, true. I very much did. So I feel like we basically exhausted the topic of taking over the churches. I clearly won on that one, but we'll see how you do.
Absolute dunk. Absolute dunk for Phoebes on that one for sure.
But I do want to, I really want to drill down more onto this Democratic Party shit, because here's my thing. Is the national level Democratic Party a group of fucking shills and bourgeoisie pricks that would sell out my soul and everybody in my fucking family for a buffalo nickel? Obviously, yes. Does that mean someone is intrinsically evil for putting D next to their name? You tell me, Paul.
Well, I don't think they're intrinsically evil, but I do think that they're part of the problem. Like, if they're any stripe of leftist, they are part of the problem. They're joining the ops, right? Because
how
the Democratic Party is a status quo party. They are really, they will tell you that they are for emancipation of the wage slaves, $15 plus $20 minimum wage, fucking Medicare for all, yada yada yada. But at the end of the day, when they're in power, especially at the state and national level, you find out what they're really about, and that's padding their pockets and keeping the status quo right where it's at, keeping all the Trump era policies in place for the most part, so that the next Republican presidency can run with them and expand upon them. It is a slow circle down the fucking drain of doom. It is every fucking cycle we become a little more Republican and a little more illiberal, and that's going to keep happening so long as we keep dumping our shit down the sewer that is the Democratic Party. So there you go.
Okay, so you don't think that there is any possibility by which the Democratic Party, I know this is fucking such a time-honored line, but I'm not saying it can be reformed from within. I'm saying it can be taken over by people who are functionally without it. Basically, people who are leftists and progressives who vote for Dems only usually by convenience or in circumstances like Zohran Mamdani was hardly a Democrat. He is not a Democrat according to, you would have to agree he's not a Democrat by your standard of Democrat, right? Because if it's tied to the behavior of a Democrat, right, not merely the letter next to someone's name,
because that I kind of see it as an opportunity to leech power from an existing system and use it as a way to gain legitimacy in a local or a state election, without necessarily having to build up a giant independent movement that can get itself on the ballot despite all these weird voting restrictions.
The party politics, right, necessitate that these people be assimilated, or the thumb is put on the scale during the electoral or primary process to make sure that they don't make it through that. And we've seen that with Bernie, not once but twice. Because Bernie was an agent of exactly what you're talking about. Let's sneak somebody into the democratic process high up that is a democratic socialist, that is, will be radical in comparison to a Bill Clinton or a Barack Obama. Let's get somebody in there that's really committed to leftist change. And you saw what happened with that. They were willing to put their thumb on the scale in every way that they possibly could to ensure that Bernie dropped the strap to a bunch of unbelievable corporate shills. Yeah.
Right. Like I said, the national level Democratic Party is a despicable organization. And I think that it is only by radical action and change in the leadership that it can have any hope of being reformed, or even if not reformed, then used as a temporary vehicle. Here's really the utopian situation, not utopian, I guess, but the best case outcome I see with progressive and leftist entryism into the Democratic Party would be that we managed to get a progressive / lefty enough president in power through the Democratic Party that they go through and fix some of the, they push through some, and frankly, I don't care if they use some Lyndon B. Johnson type methods to do it, but they push through some legislation that would make it more practical for third parties to win. That, I think, is the ultimate dream, because I don't know that the leadership of the Democratic Party can effectively be replaced, because I'm not going to lie to you, Paul. I mean, because of the arguments we've had in chat and the advocacy that I do, I agree with most of your criticisms of the national level Democratic Party and of the Democratic Party more or less as a political organization. But, I just can't help but I can't shake the feeling that people on a state and local level can still do a lot of good by using that existing framework as a point of entryism for them into greater levels of power.
Yeah, I don't know. You know my position on the Democrats. It's beyond once bitten, twice shy with them at this point, and I've watched them homogenize so many vibrant young leftists into the party politics and or squash their fucking political careers out from under them. I've just watched it happen too much. I know that because those people are not just representatives of the Democratic Party, they're representatives of the political status quo in this country, and that includes corporations. That's everybody that has money. That's everybody that has money, and the ones that don't. Right, yeah, the bougies, and the ones that have no money, the proletariat, right? They get fucked over and out. We're never going to get a candidate. Zoran Mamdani being mayor of New York City is a huge deal, but it's not national party politics level. And if he takes that step up, you will see the great homogenization of Zoran Mamdani. It won't be long. Either that or they will put their thumb on the scale against him, one of the two.
I don't agree, because I think already Zoran Mamdani is at a national level. New York City is America's capital. I don't care what Washington, D.C. has to say about itself. New York City is the capital of the world, not just America.
I said, wouldn't you say that it's a more powerful position to be a fucking New York State senator?
No, Lord, no.
Oh, get out. You've got a seat at the national level of politics?
Yeah, but you're one vote, whereas Zoran Mamdani can actually do shit that affects
what do you think is going to happen
city in America?
He can do that now, right? But what's going to happen when he does the inevitable step up into national level politics and now he's just one vote?
Then the system of the Senate fucking nullifies his voice. But that's why I oppose the existence of the Senate. I don't think we should have a Senate.
Well, I'm fine with that as well. But
good.
There's no way that the Senate is going to willingly give up its own fucking position.
No, but neither did the fucking kings in the French Revolution, and look what happened to fucking them.
Well, let's quit talking and let's go revolt.
I agree. I'm fucking sick of this shit. I don't care. You know what? This is my YouTube channel. This is not Paul's. My views do not represent those of the broader YouTube community. I'm sick of this shit. I'm ready for action. And we all know what has to happen. I'm sick of us fucking pretending. I'm sick of us fucking lollygagging around and pretending like there's some fucking electoral option we have to achieve the real change we need. Now, I do think there are electoral options we can do to stave the bleeding, which is something I don't think Paul agrees with. I think there are things we can do to apply a cold compress and make ourselves live a little longer, fight a little bit longer, maybe. But it is time. No matter what we do with the electoral booth, no matter what we do at the election time, the time is now. The time has been now for 5 years.
Longer than that, in my opinion. The writing for this shit has been on the wall for a long motherfucking time. And yeah, I think it's well past time.
I just want to answer a couple of super chats real quick, and we'll get right back to it. Drop Slots for $10. Thank you so much. Said sock money for Phoebe. The sugar to salt, Paul Salt in the stream. Yeah, you know, I like to think that that's one of the reasons why me and Paul work out as kind of like a streaming duo whenever we do hang out on stream, is because I've got I would say a more optimistic attitude than Paul has, but I like Paul's pessimism. I think it's a grounding factor in the content creators I listen to. So I, as an optimist, appreciate it. And appreciate the Boys of Pessimist Productions broadly. Ghetto Jesus with the $10. Sup, Phoebe and Paul, the Democratic governor candidate for my state, Kansas, is promising to legalize weed. I might vote for her based on that. I'm sick of being the only Midwest state not to have weed. Paul,
I don't blame you. I mean, you know, you got to vote, get in where you fit in. I did my local voting. You know, I did that. I did my vote by mail, which is, by the way, the only way that you can vote here in Washington. So if Donald Trump were to ban mail-in ballots, and he would functionally disenfranchise the entire state of Washington, but that's another thing.
How do you feel? How do you feel about the SAVE Act? It is another thing. It's something we didn't talk about, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it if you have any.
You know, to be honest with you, I don't understand the full scope of it. I don't think I've got enough information to have like a really well-rounded opinion on it. So, but I've also been very avoidant of the news lately, and it's just something I go through. It's like a cycle that I go through. And I'm on my, you know, couple of months, 3 months where Paulsego just does not care about the news. And
I get that.
So the SAVE Act is a little above my pay grade, but if you could explain it to me, we can talk about it.
So basically the idea is that it contains provisions to make it explicitly illegal to vote in federal elections as a non-citizen. It already is illegal to vote as a non-citizen.
Right.
But it also includes provisions that when anyone registers to vote in federal elections in any state, anywhere, at any time, they have to present certain forms of documentation.
It's a voter ID law, then.
It's a fucking super strict voter ID law, basically.
Okay.
And there are only a few different documents that qualify, like a birth certificate, passport, stuff like that. Very few documents actually qualify for the provisions in the Save America Act, meaning that it's going to disenfranchise tons of people, not just Democrats and not just independents, but Republicans also will be disenfranchised with this as they get to their voting site and find out that because they don't have the new updated voter registration card with the Save America Act already correlated to it, they're now going to have to present their birth certificate or a passport to be able to vote. There are tons of Americans that are legal citizens that don't have their passport just sitting around in a place where they can easily get to it. Some people keep it in safety deposit boxes. They might not be able to get to it on voting day, given that it's a federal holiday. And I think it's considered a federal holiday. I know lots of banks and businesses shut down on voting day to allow their employees to vote.
It should be a federal holiday, but it isn't.
See, that's how I know that you are good faith in your criticisms of electoralism, because you say shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah. My understanding, Amelia's a lot more tuned in on the news, and I do remember now that you've run it down what she had talked to me a little bit about the SAFE Act, and from my understanding, it's likely to not pass the Senate. It's likely to get punted back to the House with the SAFE Act kind of taken out of it. But on the off chance that it doesn't, I mean, if you think about it, there were 5 or 6, I think, that names that she read off last night, Democrat cucks that crossed the lines and wiped out the advantage that would have been gained because 5 or 6 Republicans crossed the lines to vote against it. And so those fucking Democrats are just a perfect example of the fucking ratchet effect. The ratchet effect. It's the ratchet effect. There were just enough cuck ass fucking Democrats that allowed this to sneak through to the Senate that now we all have to fucking rub our hands together about this defense authorization going through.
Well, you remember when it was just Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, right? When they were the big boogeymen in the Senate or
the parliamentarian too. That fucking
exactly.
That spooky motherfucker that only shows up when it's necessary. You know what I mean? The fucking parliamentarian shows up and fucks everything.
You never hear about the parliamentarian when there's a bipartisan resolution to fund the military for another $95 billion to pay for the Iran war. But for some reason, if you want to achieve meaningful change for the American people, that damned parliamentarian, Paul.
Yeah, he's like the fucking Joker. He just shows up when he's, the least opportune time. That parliamentarian shows up.
He's like Snidely Whiplash, man.
Dastardly parliamentarian.
No joke. But yeah, so I kind of agree with you that they are traitors, but like that's the thing. It's like, why are they traitors? Because they're members of the Democratic Party. Why does that matter? Because the Democratic Party is supposed to, like me and you both agree, the Democratic Party in the modern day is supposed to represent broadly left of center action, right? Like it's supposed to. I'm not saying it does, but it's supposed to, right?
Right.
Okay. And I feel like this is a criticism you're going to agree with me. The biggest mistake Democrats, both voters and politicians, have made over the last 20 years is allowing the Overton window to shift to the right by continually allowing the Democratic Party to appeal to more and more right-wing voters and continuing to vote for national level candidates that toe that line.
Yeah, but that's what they want. Like the slide to the right means more money for corporations. It means rich people pay less taxes. And so when you have a vested interest economically in Democrats being more Republican, then the Overton window can't help but shift to the right, especially because so many people in this country are swayed by the stupid lesser of two evils argument. I mean, it is staggering to me how many young people buy into that absolute dead-end philosophy. And if that keeps going, then what the fuck are we to do? I can't, I'm just one guy sitting on the street corner with the end is nigh sign, you know what I mean? Screaming into the ether. I can only do so much. I'm doing what I can, I think. But
yeah, for sure. One thing I remember is back in 2020, what was it? 2020. Back in 2020, I was making the lesser of two evils argument for Joe Biden. And I don't know, maybe I'm just too empathetic a person, or maybe I should be glad for this amount of empathy. But what broke me was reading, I think 2 months after Joe Biden was signed into office, after he was inaugurated, he signed this like $200 billion deal with Raytheon and like started bombing Syria and shit. And I saw these pictures of these buildings where it was like, you know, searchers or rescuers search for the bodies of missing children located underneath the rubble in Peshawar or whatever it was. And I was like, what the fuck did I vote for? What the fuck is this?
That is the
And
contention. That is the contention that people have with it. Is like there are certain of us. When I voted for Barack Obama and he started drone bombing the whole Middle East, like fucking carpet bombing it with drone strikes, I saw blood on my own hands.
Right. That's how I felt when I voted for Joe Biden too.
And there are certain people that don't. They just go, oh, well, you know what I mean? The other side would have done it worse. So, you know, and they don't see the direct correlation between their advocacy, their vote, their sacred democratic trust, and the blood that's flowing out of some fucking 3-year-old buried underneath the rubble that's going to die there alone screaming, right? They don't see that. They cannot make that fucking connection, let alone on the scope.
I see my own son in that rubble, Paul.
Well, you should.
I see my own son in that
you
rubble.
You should.
And I get so emotional, and that's why I remain on your side when it comes to national level Democrats. Don't vote for them if they're not going to give you a candidate that actually fucking believes in the things that you believe in. Don't settle for the lesser of two evils because you're still voting for something fucking evil.
Yeah.
And those fucking kids are on your fucking hands. And if you can't see your own fucking kid's eyes, in the eyes of a starving Palestinian child looking back at you through a photograph, I just don't know if you're human.
I don't even have children and won't. And I still see the blood on my hands when I co-sign that shit. And that's what you're doing. People like to think that the end results of the politician are separate from their advocacy because they were promising to do X, Y, and Z and they were promising not to do X, Y, and Z. No, motherfucker. If you elected a liar, that's on you. That's on your hands. The primary process failed to find a sincere advocate for the middle and lower classes in this country.
Or the party subverted it. And either way, you're supporting a bad outcome. Either you're supporting like the people of the United States being so fucking retarded that they couldn't see the obvious good candidate, or you're supporting the Democratic Party and their continued anti-democratic shit.
Yeah. You know, and I look at a place like Ukraine. It's like probably about 2 million people in the dirt now. 1 million from each side sounds about right. No end in sight. Trench warfare, just like World War I tactics with drones. It's fucked. And if I'd have voted for Joe Biden, I would have co-signed that because I knew what he was going to do. You know what I mean? I knew which side he was going to stand on with that.
I honestly thought it would be better. I don't know. And see, this is the thing I wish I could get through to other people. Maybe I need to work on deconstructing it more myself. Because on the local and state level, I do think that there is utility in voting for good Democrats or good progressives and lefties that use the framework of the Democratic Party to win their elections in a place where it would be impossible for them to win an independent or a third party election. I fully support that. I supported Kat Abigazala in the Illinois District 12 primary. Yeah. I support fucking that dude whose name I cannot Abdullah Sayed. I think that this thing that these can be effective avenues for change, but on the national level, I think that for a long time we as voters have sent the message to the Democratic Party that we don't really care that much what you give us on a federal level. We'll accept it as long as you're not the Republicans. And I think as long as that's true, you give them every ability and every incentive to remain just to the left of the Republicans. Just enough to keep things bad.
And I don't see that. I don't see that stopping because it's one crisis after the next. Right. So this midterm, it's going to be party line Democrat for a lot of people. And and then in the next election it'll be party line Democrat, and then if we keep that mentality, then we watch it slide to the right, and we watch more and more right-wing shit get normalized as how we live our lives. And I'm just not willing to do that. I'm not willing to me, if that's on the ballot, I'm not voting for it.
No, yeah, I agree with you when it comes to presidential elections, and maybe even Senate elections. Like if you have a Democratic Senate, a candidate in a certain state that is like obviously a candidate that is just supported by AIPAC and loved by Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and all these like bought in, sold out motherfuckers, then I think that you are justified in voting third party or not voting for that senator, as long as you're not voting Republican, because I do think the Republicans are objectively worse. The way I look at it is Democrats are the ones who sit around not repairing the building after it gets damaged. Republicans are the ones actively swinging the sledgehammers, right? And yeah. I don't think that makes Democrats any better, but I do think that makes voting for Republicans like an actual moral wrong, where I think not voting for a Democrat is a morally innocuous activity, especially at the national level. And when they don't actually believe in the things you believe in. I mean, people in southern states and red states voting for right-wing Democrats that are literally right-wing to their core, but are just running as a Democrat to oppose the Republicans. It's part of the reason why the right has gone so far to the South. People forget Huey Long was a Louisiana governor. And yeah, he was corrupt as shit, but you know what? He got a lot done for the people of Louisiana.
He was corrupt. Yeah, he was corrupt in the right direction. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, I get it. Well, in furtherance, you mentioned a little Daryl Davis contact theory. In lieu of that, because I think you disagreed with my appearance against Andrew Wilson, right? You thought I went a little limp dick soft on him, or what?
Yeah, I think you were a little soft on him. I think that there were a number of fact claims he made that would have been pretty easy to refute, which is a little bit of like very brief Google foo. And I thought that there were some points that he made that you didn't. There weren't necessarily fact points, but that I think that your classic brand of emotional and anecdotal argumentation could have done really well to dismantle.
Yeah, I was dissuaded from bringing the emotional angle to it because I watched how he deals with it, and quite frankly, I'm just not up to par. I know when I'm outmatched or whatever, and when it comes to shit slinging or whatever the fuck, I knew that at this point in my life, I just don't have that in me. Maybe it's getting older, maybe it's medication, maybe it's some combination of the both. But and he still does, man. That guy, he thrives in that environment, right? And,
he definitely does.
And so I wanted to take him out of his prep, because I think that he prepped for me by taking a look at some of my lefty shit, and I wanted to take him out of his prep, and I think I did that. I think if I had honed in on, because I agree, there were some times where I just was like, all right, agree to disagree or whatever the fuck, and I could have really honed down on some point. But the end result was going to be the same, right? The end result was going to be his people think he pwned me. My people think, maybe that I did okay against him, and the world goes on spinning. And so in furtherance of contact theory, I was like, it would be interesting to make a connection. And I didn't try and engineer a connection, but I was like, it'd be interesting to see if I can make a connection with this guy who aligns so differently from me politically. And I felt that I was able to do that. And I felt that I extracted more concessions out of him, than maybe anybody expected me to when it comes to the 14 tenets. So
you definitely extracted some concessions out of him. I listen, I'm not one of these people that thinks you did horribly. I just think that, and maybe this is just because I look up to you in a lot of ways, and maybe that's just, a cringe thing to say or whatever. But dude,
you know, I've watched you for a lot of years. You were one of the people I looked up to and kind of like starting this channel and thinking about like I could do that. You know, it would be cool to have that job. And maybe it's just because of that, but I just felt like, you know, looking back at some of the appearances you've had with Jamie Darkey, Milo, Sargon of Akkad, some of these different people throughout the years, I just think like there was a part of me that was just like, damn, you could have went so much harder. But I also kind of I have to agree with you on some level that you probably did make more of a difference being somewhat deferential than you did, or than you would have rather, by being emotional, whether in him or in his diehard fans, because like people on the fence, it's kind of hard to predict which way that they're going to go after an appearance. But you know, like he did definitely agree with more of the 14 tenets that I was expecting when I started watching the appearance. So I'm not saying it was like
even if he did,
appearance or anything.
even if he did qualify it by saying, you know, oh, I think that applies to all politicians, but hey, I fucking agree, dude. So, you know, you're like I told him at the beginning, you're not going to catch me carrying the water for Democrats.
That reminds me, one of the things that that's one of the things, if it was me, and maybe this would have led to a way worse appearance, or maybe I would have been clipped or saw as cringe as whatever, but I would have been like, yeah, I mean, that's the difference between you and me, you know, Andrew, is that I am a critic of power no matter where it comes from and no matter how it's used, and you want to make excuses for certain types of power and legitimize those as if they can be legitimate if expressed by one political ideology, but illegitimate if expressed by another, when really your belief is might makes right.
Well, I mean, hey, maybe you'll be able to hold his feet to that fire one of these days. I know that you've been on Modern Day Debate a couple of times now.
And last time I talked to James, he said, you know, when you get your mic and stuff in from Amazon, just let me know, and I will set up a thing with Andrew or Rachel Wilson, because I literally texted him during, like, live during your appearance, and I was like, oh my god, listening to this, I got it. You gotta let me have a fucking go at him, James. Come on, please, man. I sent him that message on X, and like a week later, he got back to me and he was like, LOL, sounds good. Just make sure you've got better sound equipment. And that's when I told him about Amazon and everything. He got back to me and he was like, all right, well, when you get that shit done, let me know. I'll set up something with Andrew or Rachel. So I'm going to have another appearance in Modern Day Debate at some point. I don't know exactly when it will be, because James is not always the most responsive with DMs unless he knows something's coming up.
Well, it takes time too to set those things up. Of course. I mean, he's got them scheduled out. So
right. Yeah, and he's like, you know, a beast about that shit. He's got shit scheduled out way ahead of time. Can I go for one more bathroom break? I hate to ask.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, go right ahead.
Cool.
Of course.
Yeah. You can argue with the chat if you want to. Or you
of course,
I'm
going to do that. I'm going to do that. Can't Alchemist soil Andrew Wilson? Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, and another thing is like, you know, and I talk a lot of this fucking contact theory shit. I really do. And you know, Daryl Davis didn't strip those Klan robes off the back of a bunch of Klansmen by calling them a bunch of hayseed hicks and screaming and yelling at them, you know. And I think that, you know, you catch more flies with honey, and his audience not immediately being dismissive of me as a leftist makes them more apt to listen to the arguments that I was making, even if they disagree with it. And that's one step closer to changing a mind, because you've incepted an idea. Which to me is a neat trick. And if you can do it, you know, and I'm not saying I did that with Andrew. I'm not saying I did that with most of his audience. I'm saying that there's a chance with a couple of his audience that were watching that or went back and watched the highlight thing that he did of it. You know. And I do think it's good too that if you know, lefties aren't looked at as these crazy fucking, you know, screaming debate lords. You know, I've done my fair share of that type of debate lording, and I got to be honest with you guys, I don't like it. I don't like forcing it for sure.
I hope I don't come off as one of those people.
What, a debate lord?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Good.
No,
I just look at
definitely not.
myself as like a chill fucking hick from Mississippi that likes to have fucking political and religious conversations.
Yeah, that's how I try and brand myself these days. You know what I mean? I'm not a college graduate. I'm not an expert in anything. I'm just a guy with a big motor mouth that I like people. You know, I like picking people's brains. I'm an introvert that loves other people. Go figure.
You're an ambivert, they say.
Ambivert. Yeah. But yeah, no, there was trying to remember the list that you gave me. There was another point of contention on there, wasn't there?
There are a couple. We've got national divorce, the usefulness of mass protest, local protest, direct action, and community organizing, and the long dreaded dead French guy argument.
Which dead French guy?
So we had an argument one day, and it was the meanest you've ever gotten with me, and that's fine because I was being a douchebag back. But
okay,
I said something about Derek Jensen being a turf, and you said something about how it is kind of fucked up. Exactly, you said something like it is kind of fucked up. Some of the stuff that Foucault said, you know, like whatever else he may have said about gender theory, and I made the argument. You know, why should, and this is my quote, and I love it because I'm fucking, you know, a narcissist, I guess. But I said, why should my ideology be beholden to the thought and theory of a dead French guy that I've never read about and have no idea of the fucking sayings of?
Sure. Well, I don't react with anger to that statement now. But I do think that it is notable, and I understand from Derek Jensen's side of things. You know, he was horribly abused sexually, and he is going to be vehemently against any movement that he sees as even tangentially adjacent to child abuse. And there are a number of early and mid-range queer authors that have written some pretty sussy shit about children and the age of consent and
Allen Ginsberg, Michael Foucault. Yeah.
And so, you know, that was the big kind of critique that he had in that. And the way that the people on the other side failed to represent themselves against him was notable as well. Even if I don't disagree, because I overall, I agree with you. Your ideology doesn't have to be beholden to any dead French guys or any dead anybody's for that matter, or any living anybody's.
No dead Indian guys either.
No, whoever you want, you know what I mean, or nobody. You know, your brain and your philosophy, that's your fucking playground, you know. Don't let anybody define that.
That's how I feel about it.
Ooh, McFlurry while your dollar still buys McFood. Aw, look at that.
Hell yeah. Dude, I agree. Josiah Baker, thank you for the $2. By the way, thank you to everybody who has donated tonight. You guys have supported the channel with a collective 5, 7, 13, 23, 33, 43, 45 fucking dollars tonight for an hour and 38 minutes of work. I'd say that that's pretty fucking good. Thank you guys a ton. I appreciate it immensely. Remember that one of the best ways you can support the channel is by signing up for the membership. You get access to members-only live chats after the first hour of my phone streams. You get access to an extensive back catalog of less viewed streams that have a lot more esoteric topics featured. And there's other features that I'm going to be introducing as time goes on. So consider signing up for it. It's super cheap.
Very cool. Yeah, I love to see what you're building over here, Phoebes. You, like I was saying when you went on a piss break earlier, you've been you know, talking about wanting to do streaming for a long time, and I think that you've done just a really bang up job rolling it out. So
thank you.
Congrats on all that. That's very cool.
I appreciate that a ton, dude. I kind of look at I kind of look at myself as like the Vosh of you guys' community. Just as Vosh was birthed from Destiny's foul asshole, I was birthed from you guys' foul
Jesus.
asshole.
Oh no. No, that's cool.
Yeah, I love it though, genuinely. This is the coolest job I've ever fucking worked, and it is the only opportunity I've ever had in my entire life to do something I genuinely enjoy and make money at it. And the fact that there are people that are willing to sit around and listen to me ranting about political economy and geopolitics and religion and philosophy, when I'm just some dumbass that barely graduated with a B out of high school and did a few college credits while I was there. I cannot tell you how fucking awesome it is to have an audience for that shit and to see my efforts paying off and my reinvestments paying off the way they have. So I appreciate that a ton, Paul, and I appreciate that a ton to everybody who has supported this channel.
Well, you just got a big fatty donation there. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, let's read that. Drops a lot with the $50. We appreciate that more than you know, as we were just talking about. So thank you so much. Excuse me. Been drinking a lot of booze tonight. It's original Club Tales screwdriver.
Oh, okay.
We got
look, there it is. You are at $100 for this stream. Look at that.
Fuck yeah. Thank you guys. Y'all are awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys
so
are
much.
great. Thank you for supporting Phoebes and what she does.
No joke. Thank you. And thank you, Paul, for sending your people over here. It means a lot. If someone else donates another $5, this should bring Phoebe up to $100 for the stream. Thank you. Drops a lot. And with Melanie, $5, that makes it $100. So thank you guys, dude. $100 for an hour and 41 minutes. That's not bad. And we're not done quite yet. We got $5 to round it off. Love y'all. I love you, Aaron. I appreciate it more than you know.
That's fantastic. You guys are being great tonight. That's great. I'm glad you're enjoying the conversation. I think I got a little bit more in me.
Yeah, awesome. Because I've got more in me for sure. Two dudes.
Yeah,
just
my
talking.
old man ass, dude. My stamina is especially today. I just had a bad day today, Phoebes. To be honest with you,
I get that.
Days. I woke up sour today. I just woke up sour. I had a meeting. I had a meeting. It was a tough meeting today. You know, sometimes you have real tough meetings. It was a tough show meeting today.
Did
Not
TJ
bad, just tough.
Again?
Did I what?
Did TJ call you old again or something?
I don't think so, no. But dude, somebody did call me old the other day. And it fucking stuck in my brain. I was sitting in a Discord and somebody said something. It reminded me of a rap lyric. And so I rapped it because I'm autistic a little bit and I can't control myself. And
me too.
And the person there's this chick in there that was in her 20s, and she goes, "Ew, oh, hello, fellow kids." And I was like, oh, it was like a dagger in my fucking eye. You know what I mean? I was like, shit.
You got hello, fellow kids. Oh no,
fuck, man.
Oh, that's horrible. Red Minch for $4.99 said, "I like to think when Paul sarcastically called Alchemist Soil a mensch, he did it for me." Paul, you want to answer that?
Yes, absolutely, man. Absolutely. It was all for you, Mensch.
I knew it.
Yeah.
For the 10 gems, which I think amounts to 10 cents. 10 gems with W. Thank you, Delatha. I appreciate that.
Delatha.
Before we continue this, I want to rap for you, and you tell me if I got flow.
Oh shit!
You ready?
Hit it.
Y'all know me, still the same OG, but I've been low key, hated on by all these niggas with no cheese and no wheels, no G's and no keys, no snow. No, hold on. Let me look up the lyrics. God damn it. I'm fucking up. Oh my god. Shut up. I'm drunk, okay? It's going to be great when I look up the lyrics, okay? It's going to be great when I look up the lyrics. You just wait. Okay. Y'all know me.
Still the same OG, but I've been low key, hated on by most of these niggas with no cheese, no deals and no G's, no wheels and no keys, no boats, no snowmobiles and no skis. Mad at me because I can finally afford to provide my family with groceries. Got a crib, a studio, and it's all full of tracks to add to the fall full of plaques. Hanging up in the office and back of my house like trophies. Y'all think I'm gonna let my dough freeze? Ho, please, you better bow down on both knees. Who you think taught you to smoke trees? Who you think brought you the ODs? Easy E's, Ice Cubes, and DOCs, the Snoop D-O-double-G's, and the group that said, motherfuck the police. Gave you a tape full of dope beats to bump when you strolled through in your hood. And when the album sales wasn't doing too good, who's the doctor that told you to go see? Y'all better listen up closely. All you niggas that said that I turned pop with a firm flop, y'all the reason that Dre ain't been getting no sleep. So fuck y'all, all of y'all. If y'all don't like me, blow me. Y'all gonna keep fucking around with me and turn me back to the old me. Nowadays, everybody want to talk, but they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they rich motherfuckers out. They forgot about Dre. Nowadays, everybody want to talk, but they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move the lips. Just a bunch of gibberish motherfuckers out like they forgot about Dre.
I'll tell you right now, dude. Unequivocally, you have zero flow. No flow. Whitey flow.
I knew it.
Sorry. I
knew
listen.
it this whole time. I was bullshitting this whole time.
The whole fucking time. Of course,
the chat agrees.
I think all MCs are whack MCs, so.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So do you have anything left in you in the national divorce conversation? Because I kind of agree with a lot of people that say it's a right-wing fantasy that like imagines the US as a like distinctly divided group of people, when in fact it's like just a truism. Like, dude, all the cities are blue, all the rural areas are red, and even the rural areas that are red are like 30% blue.
Sure. I don't know. I don't think it's I don't think it's all that fucking likely, to be honest with you. I've changed a little bit on that. I do think it would be possible and possibly a good thing for those of us that live in areas that are already progressive. It is endlessly sad that my tax dollars have to go to subsidize governments that don't subsidize the people that live there.
Well, you're really subsidizing the people that live there, not the government. Well, I guess you are kind of subsidizing the governments a little bit too.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not real heavy on pushing the national divorce narrative. I just don't see it happening. I see people just falling right into line. There was this kind of like semi-revolutionary energy that started to pop up with people post-Trump. But I think that has just kind of crashed against the shore and rolled back, and we're all about to march in and vote party line Democrat, and we're all about to do the same thing when they serve us a hot piece of shit as a candidate, and we're going to get lied to by that candidate, and that candidate is going to really underperform, and then we're going to drop the strap to a Republican in the next 4 to 8 years, and the sad story continues.
So it's not like you don't support national divorce as a like morally ethical solution for the problems of our society. It's just that you no longer see it as a viable path for resolving the issues. You just don't see it as likely.
I don't see it all that likely, no. I used to think it was way more likely, but like I said, I was getting kind of swept up in this like fuck this kind of mentality that was rising up after Trump's election, and like I said, that has just kind of ebbed. So with ebbs my call on it.
So let's see if we get any passion with this. We'll see if we disagree passionately with this take. Paul said something along the lines of, if you can't move out of the South, you deserve to die. I think you did make a joke like that on a certain DFF episode. I don't know if you're really serious, but
no, hopefully if some sort of national divorce happens. I do think that me and TJ are very roundly against this kind of I can't mentality that happens with people, because I think me and TJ both, now look, I understand that our opportunities were maybe a little broader when we were younger, but that being said, I sacrificed everything at multiple points in my life to get where I'm at today. It was tough, it was rough, and sometimes you've got to make that sacrifice if you truly believe you're in danger, or you believe that there's going to be a place where you can be in less danger, then I think you ought to do everything you can to get you and your family out of that place. You know, and I'll stand on that business.
Here's how I feel about it. There are people throughout this country. Oh my God, I just killed a... Okay, this is random and I'm drunk, so it wouldn't be coming out otherwise. But I just killed a bug, and when I killed it, I accidentally like kind of separated its head from its thorax. And the fucking like antennas and the legs attached to the thorax kept fucking moving.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't need their heads. Their brains are like in their thorax somewhere.
Dude.
That head is just like a mouth and eyeballs.
Insects are so fucking weird. Arthropods are so weird. No wonder we eat them. They're the most morally justified animals for us to eat. Anyway, they're barely even animals. Anyway, so fuck. What were we talking about before my drunk ass got
National divorce.
distracted? National divorce. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate you so much. So yeah. My thing about it is I don't think it's altogether likely either, but I do. So here's how I feel about the with moving, right? Yeah. I have lived completely homeless in a minivan, traveling this country off the back of nothing but my own ability to play music and have people pity me, I guess. And as a result, I kind of have a pretty deep and intimate experience with the realities of poverty in America. And I feel like I kind of can't blame people for apocalypsing a little bit about how bad it's going to be if they try and move out of their area. So, but on the other hand, I also can't abide this idea that you just shouldn't do anything ever because it might turn out bad in the future. So how I feel about it is this. If you are able to leave the South, economically speaking, and it makes economic sense for you, and you're a queer person or a marginalized person that's going to be affected by the rightward shift of the South that is probably going to be abated in about 10 years, but is going to continue for at least the next 5, then I think you should. But there are many people in the Deep South who, even if they could technically move out, if they exercise the right combination of gumption and willingness to couch surf and willingness to use squattheplanet.org, which is a good website you guys should look into, by the way. Even if they could, they are not going to do it because they don't see how it could be viable. They've never lived anywhere else but their little town in the South. They've never been anywhere else. They don't know what it's like to live anywhere else. They don't even know what the process for getting housing is like in a place that isn't like the little town that they grew up in. And I advocate for people in that situation to better themselves, educate themselves more, and in the meantime, fight like hell to keep the communities that they live in from turning more fascist and more right-wing. Because no matter how many trans people, black people, Mexican people, etc., move out of the South and out of the rural areas of America's more right-wing areas, there are still going to be marginalized people in those areas that are going to be negatively affected by the policies that those places said. So I think that it does kind of help people, that it's kind of humanist to advocate for those who cannot leave to, at the very least, fight like hell.
I think you're right. Yeah. I think you could be right. I mean, listen, fighting like hell alone is never a good idea. And in the absence of a big social movement or some sort of, way for people to organize that isn't completely and utterly infiltrated by the government, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to go stand and fight. You know what I mean? Because you just get crushed.
Right, but you recognize that the people who fought for civil rights in the 1960s were crushed right up until the moment that they made a big enough splash nationally and internationally
that the United States government had to listen to them, right?
Well, sure, yeah, but there was a solid organizing going on to be crushed, and right now there's nothing.
Right, but that's what I'm advocating for, is the development of
Let's
those
do
organizing apparatuses. Well, that's what I do. I advocate for people to join local organizations that do organizing. Unions is a big thing that you push, and a big thing that I push too, because even if a union sucks, the only way it gets better is by participation, because it's an inherently democratic project.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you there as well, and I'm hoping that that happens. I've less and less faith in my ability to do that or to be a part of that outside of materially supporting it when it does come about.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So at this point, I want to ask anyone in the chat that's been enjoying this conversation to go ahead and send any super chats that you want answered by me or Paulsego, anything you might want us to argue about, because it feels like we're kind of drawing to the close. I don't want to keep Paul too long.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And I'm sorry. Maybe I'll come back and I'll join you for a longer sesh at some point in the future. But I have just been, oh man, I'm beat. My voice is cooked. It's so smoky here right now, Phoebes. Just like Wildfire Central.
Yeah, give us an update on that if you don't mind. What's that like?
Oh, it's just I'm used to it because I used to live in that Central Valley of California, which is constantly full of that. But yeah, it's just bad. Tons of wildfires out east that are just kind of pouring in, and then Canadian wildfires as well.
That's awful. I'm so sorry. I hope that shit abates soon. We got a super chat from $10 from a troll, most likely, but hey, they pay the bills just like anybody else does.
They sure do.
Yeah. Troll money spends just as green at the dispensary as anything else does. Ain't that right, Paul?
It's true.
Both of you, please come to my music studio in Arizona. Love you too. Pretty sure you're both room's 12 foot wide. Well, I don't know. I'm about 9 feet wide. So
was that a fat joke, sir?
Yeah, I think it might have been.
How dare you write a fat joke on a $10 bill? How dare you?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. You know what I always tell these people whenever somebody asks me, like, how do you deal with the onslaught of hatred, Phoebe? I just don't see how you deal with it. I always tell them I cry into my super chat revenue.
Yeah. I dab my eyeballs with super chat jokes.
Exactly. Spoken like a true capitalist. Oh my. You live in society, but yet you criticize it. I am very smart.
Yeah.
Tell me another one.
That's pretty much how that works.
Yeah, I know. Like, I can't be fucking a person that pays my bills off of the product of my own labor in capitalism, because apparently that's what, like that. Like, okay, so listen, we live in a capitalist environment. I am a socialist. At some point, I have planned to eventually buy more land and invite a bunch of fellow lefties to live in a commune with me. But I can't do that right now. You know why? Because I live in Mississippi and make $2,000 a month. Eventually, I'll be able to live my socialist utopian dream. Until that point, I'm going to have to continue making money off the internet and trying to support myself as best I can in an environment where I have to pay bills.
Yeah. Sorry to let people know, but that is absolutely true. What are you supposed to do?
Like, literally, like, what is a motherfucker supposed to do? Like, and you know what gets me is, like, there is a way, but you literally have to live like a hunter-gatherer. Technically, in the National Forests of America, you are allowed to live for up to 14 days in any one spot. So, in theory, if a person wanted to, they could live that way, but they would literally have to live like a hunter-gatherer, or have to have an incredibly successful social media platform kind of existence. That way they could afford to live that way, because like this entire society is predicated around rent seeking and forcing you into, Derek Jensen brings this up, Paul, you'll remember this. What happens? You'll go through this with me perfectly. What happens if you don't pay your rent?
A man with a badge shows up and throws you out of your house.
Right. And that's even if you're really nice to him, even if you try to convince him, right?
Yeah. He's still going to throw you out of your house
because he's there
all civilization is predicated upon violence that flows downward in a hierarchy.
Yep.
So,
I think it could be different. Let me ask you this: do you think that can be different?
Capitalism, no.
No, I mean, like, no, obviously capitalism can't be different, but civilization, I think that a civilization could eventually evolve that does not feature capitalism. I think that we can socially evolve out of these deleterious behaviors. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I think it's going to be on a longer time scale than either you or I have to experience, but yeah. I think it could happen. I don't think we're on that trajectory now, but maybe we will be in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? From the Cutting Linguist 96, we got $10 in Super Chat. I appreciate that a ton. I'm 30 and disabled and stuck living with my boomer Trump-supporting father and my poor mother in South Mississippi, trying to get better so I can get out of this hellhole. Well, Cutting Linguist, I wish you literally every bit of luck. Living in South Mississippi fucking sucks. It is an economically depressed area, just like most of Mississippi. There's a little bit more economic activity on the coast, but you trade it, like, you're getting better economic activity for a way worse climate. So I really hope you're able to get out of there at some point. At least move to a better Midwestern state, at least move to fucking Missouri or Illinois or something,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, best of wishes, best of luck, and hopefully you're on the mend and you continue to go from strength to strength, man. That sucks.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
I can't imagine living with my dad right now. Oh my God, I'd kill. I love my dad. Don't get me wrong, but just the politics of it would drive me insane eventually, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky. I live in an intergenerational household. I live with my mom and dad, but it's not like the same thing as most fucking people because I pay a third of the bills. I pay all of my own personal upkeep bills.
Right.
I've got a source of income and employment, as illegitimate as some people might find it. I do pay my own bills and shit. And the main reason I live here is just because nobody else, like in my 8 siblings, I was the only one interested in continuing to homestead in fucking Mississippi.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who was like, all right, yeah, that sounds like a cool life. In that situation, I am just incredibly lucky that my dad is at this point kind of apolitical. He's kind of like a libertarian conservative guy. He openly identifies as like an American conservative, but he's really like a libertarian. He doesn't, he's got no problems with anybody really. He doesn't misgender me or misnomer me or anything. And my mom, she's a fucking anarchist. She just doesn't have the words to describe it. But
right.
She'll describe herself as a liberal, but then she'll talk about like the abolition of the wage system and the abolition of all capital.
Right. I love that.
I'm very privileged in that way.
Yeah, that's cool.
Being able to live with my parents, but not having the politics intersect much. And, there's no power dynamic because at this point, well, I hate to say it like a douchebag, but I make more money than either of my parents do at this point. So,
well, hey, I mean, kudos to that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's super great. Well, I tell you what, Phoebes, I think I'll bounce out of here. Are you going to keep streaming?
Yeah, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to probably end this one and start a vertical live outside.
Ooh.
Keep getting drunk and get a little high.
Oh, that sounds nice. Well, thank you so much for having me. I hope it was was fun.
I can't tell you how fun this has been. I can't tell you how much I fucking appreciate this. Riley Wesson wanted to say for $2, good storytellers written in non-song stories. I don't know who that's directed at, but I've certainly written non-song stories. They're fan fictions that I won't share with you, but yeah. You want to answer that before you dip out?
I wrote this short story called The Peak about a guy who wakes up naked, knee deep in the snow with a boner that keeps pointing towards the peak of the mountain and compelling him on.
Oh, that's awesome. Is that true?
That is true. Maybe I'll release it one of these days.
Dope. You should release it. All right. Well, thank you, dude. Paul, you've been a huge influence on my streaming career. I appreciate you massively. I hope you like my set. You know.
It looks great. Cool. It's super cool back there.
Yeah, I've tried to worry it myself and everything. I've taken the advice you and TJ have given me over the years, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the content you've made over the years. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on this stream tonight.
We'll do this again in the future, yeah?
That. Yeah. Oh, duh. Dude, you have a standing invitation to this channel anytime you want to come on. Anything you disagree with me about, hit me up. You don't even have to fucking hit me up on Discord. Hit me up in the comments, and I'll bring you on.
All right.
Discord, StreamYard, doesn't matter. You're on.
I'll do it. All right. Thanks, Phoebes, and thanks to everybody who donated and everybody who watched. I will see you guys some other time, okay?
Of course. Peace. The fuck out. All righty. That was Paulsego, everybody. Thank you. Huge fucking thank you to Paulsego for coming on this tiny YouTuber's stream. I couldn't ask for a better appearance. Paul is one of the most enjoyable people that I know personally to have a conversation on stream with. And I hope that he found it as enjoyable as I did. It was not nearly as disagreeable or as angry as I expected it to be. But it was still fun. You a boss? Thank you. We got, let me see here. I think I can, there we go. Could have done that whole time, but I didn't. How do you ride your bass this fucking hard? I don't know what you mean. You're gonna have to explain what that phrase means a little bit before I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh. Your room is fab. Thank you, Red Mensch. I appreciate that. Phoebe, new setup? Not exactly. I've had the setup for a while, but I haven't been streaming on it much because I don't have very many occasions to do these desktop streams. But yeah. Hard for Stu Toner Pals, who didn't generally... Oh my god, I'm so drunk. Hard for Stu... Oh my god, I'm so fucking drunk. Hard for two stoner pals who generally agree on things to get all worked up at each other. I know, right? Here I'm sitting, like, getting drunk, getting high. I'm definitely not in the place to get, like, super... I'm definitely not in the place to get, like, super fucked up or super angry at Paul or whatever, but yeah. Phoebe, are you taking poison damage? Yes, I'm taking poison damage right now. Actively taking poison damage. Not your ideals. You rocking the Bose Quiet Comfort headphones, Phoebe? How did you know? That's so weird. How did you fucking call it out so accurately? It's so weird. How did you know exactly what model of headphones I'm using? It's so strange. His name is Brian Andrews, and I recommend not see about how people can't see ice crime. And a play on words of how do you not see? Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah, I'll have to check that out for sure. Phoebe is a chill drunk. That's true. Everybody that met me at the meetup knows. I'm a chill drunk. It's gonna take me longer to say what I want to say, but I'm gonna still say it, and it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be chill. Don't worry about it. Is the no Boyle Paul? Boyle Paul. 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 I'm not gonna quit until I see Boyle Paul in the chat. Boyle Paul. Boyle Paul.
Boil Paul, boil Paul, boil Paul, boil Paul, boil Paul, boil Paul, boil Paul. Hell yeah, there we go. That's what we like to see. Boil Paul in the chat. That's what we like to see. Starting chants here on YouTube and on my in the at the meetups and stuff. Boil Paul, Funky Town Paul. Hell yeah, El Commander. You guys were not as generous tonight as I thought you guys were gonna be, but that's not to complain. I'm not bitching, I'm not saying anything wrong. I'm just saying I don't know why I was expecting more. Because I don't really need to. I don't deserve it. It's fine. I appreciate how much you guys have supported already, and I love you guys so tremendously. We've made over $100 tonight, which is awesome. I can't complain about that. I hope I can get you a drink at the next meetup, dude. Sophia, I hope you can too. Not just because I like free drinks from cute girls, but also because that would be cool. Because the whales aren't here. That's true, Elijah. I don't know if I went as hard at Paul as you wanted me to, Elijah, because you were talking in the comments about how much I was going to destroy Paul, and I don't know that I really did destroy Paul. One of the things you did say, though, is that I'm a more level-headed and calm-minded debater, and I think I might have successfully managed to pull that off. At least till I got too fucking drunk. Boil Paul's boil? Gross. Gross. You did by being authentic? Well, I feel like Paul was pretty authentic as well during that stream, but I suppose it will be the duty of the commenters to tell me how they really think I did. I know that I definitely appreciated Paul coming on, defending some of his viewpoints, making some of the arguments that I'm sure people have wanted him to make for a while. And hopefully this will be the last rehash of some of these arguments that happens for a while, because I feel like at this point, me and Paul's position on national divorce and shit is pretty much figured out and stuff. So hopefully there won't be further drama about this. Not drama, but hopefully there won't be further argumentation on these regards, and we will have a whole new slate of argumentative topics to bring up with Paulsego next time he is on. Boil Paul sounds like a Wild West outlaw. I know it does, doesn't it? You're telling me you didn't boil Paul this debate? Unsubscribe. I can't even blame you. How could I even blame you for that? All right, I'm going to go real quick because I got to use the bathroom. So I'm going to take my headphones off, put my microphone down, and I'm going to be right back. After that, we'll hang out for a few more minutes. I'll let you guys get any last super chats in that you want to get in. And then we are going to end this stream. Then I'm going to go outside and do another hour and a half for you guys at least. Another hour and a half for you guys at least before I cut it off. So give me 1 sec. Oh, I'm so drunk. I can feel the feathers moving in the morning water. Oh. Ah. Hi, guys. Oh, Phoebe almost fell. I did not, you fucking fuck, you cuck. I didn't fucking almost fall down, you fucking piece of shit. I didn't do shit. I fucking walked to the bathroom. That's all that happened. Hello. Hi. Hello. We saw you? Bullshit. You didn't see shit, bitch. You didn't see a goddamn thing, okay? Listen, alright, almost call. Yeah, see, you don't even know what happened. Okay, I just need to set my thing up like that, and then there we go. Alright. Alright. I'm good now. Alright. I think I'm fine now. I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. Okay, hold on. I just need to rest my eyes for a moment here. Exactly. Exactly. Hey, I just joined. What's happening to her exactly? I'm drunk. What's happening to you? I'm very drunk. I need to drink something that's not liquor real quick. Oh, you are not really a role model, are you? Yet you have opinions of the world, and then I look at you. Oh, if only you could understand the nuance of political opinion. If only you understood the nuance of social movements, then maybe you would be better equipped to respond to the complaints which you have about my content. Unfortunately, you're an idiot. I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I'm so fucked up, dude. You're drunk with kid stuff behind you? Dude, it's my fucking... They're my stuffies. They're my stuffies. These belong to me. Most of them, anyway. See here? We got Anarchist Kevin with BLM on one side. He used to have a little anarchy symbol right here. Yeah, Anarchist Kevin. I love him. Y'all don't even know. Y'all don't even fucking know. I'm drunk enough to do shit I would normally do, so... See how drunk Phoebe plays piano. Okay, alright, there's that. Yeah, okay, there's that. Yeah. Okay.
Now I just need to change my voice settings. Make sure it's not on reduce noise or whatever. Okay, well that means it's gonna hear all kinds of shit. That's fine. You're drunk on stream. We need workers and people to contribute to pensions. We need good role models, not inside your room drunk. Bro, I pay my taxes just like any other person who earns money in this society. I'm contributing to pensions just as much as anybody else is. Okay, you guys ready? Okay, let's see here.
I still have 86 viewers. That's wild. After just sitting around fucking with the piano for 10 minutes, I still have 86 viewers. You guys are fucking insane. You guys will watch any goddamn thing. We're recording the stream for later blackmail purposes. I don't know what blackmail purposes you'd be able to instrument with this fucking stream, but okay. This is new POV. I love your room. Yeah, no, this little room is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool environment. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and go off of this stream, and I'm gonna rejoin you guys here in a few minutes outside. Come hang out with me out there if you want to, and it'll be on this channel. But yeah, I'm gonna end this stream. Man, probably smoke weed with you guys a little bit outside, but for now, I'm done. This stream is over. Thank you guys for hanging out. Like I said, I'm gonna rejoining you guys in just a few minutes outside, but for now, this particular stream, this edition, is done. Thank you to everyone who donated. Thank you to everyone who supported with your time. I appreciate you.